How's it going, everyone? It is Steve here from Daydreamer Gaming, and I am back with Premier League preview and prediction. Very quick turnaround from the games that were played in the week. Only 2-3 days later and the Premier League action is back. This is game week 15. Games are coming thick and fast now. Brilliant. I love it. Christmas period. It's all about football for me. Love it. Unless Leicester are losing, of course. But I get used to that. I've supported them for long enough, so we'll start as we mean to go on. So the first game of the weekend is the 12:30 kickoff. Chelsea versus Newcastle United. Chelsea picking up a win in the last Premier League game against Swansea. Only 1-0, but a win is a win. And Newcastle stopped the rot in terms of their losing streak and picked up a draw against West Brom. I mean, I only see this game really going one way. A Chelsea win, most definitely for me. I can't see any other result. Newcastle historically don't do very well down in London, so I only see a Chelsea win in this one. Not a lot, really much else to say about these two teams. Newcastle are looking over their shoulder a little bit, and Chelsea are still trying to put pressure onto that top two, which is seemingly set at the minute in the Premier League. Liverpool travel to the Amex and face Brighton. So Brighton, still doing really well. Drawing their last game 0-0. Apparently it wasn't very good. It wasn't a great game. I expected it to be a lot better, what with it being a local derby, but 0-0, and apparently it was a very boring 0-0 as well. So not great, but their home form, this is going to be key. That's 3 draws in a row now at home for Brighton. They're going to find it difficult to get anything in this game, really. Liverpool looking strong. The form of Mo Salah on fire at the minute. He came off the bench in the week against Stoke and still scored 2 goals. I don't think he came on until like the 65th minute, and he still managed to bag a couple. So he's the real star man at the minute for Liverpool. Again, like I said in my last video, he would be a huge loss for Liverpool should anything happen in terms of him being injured or anything like that. But let's think positively. Let's think he won't get injured. I think Liverpool will come out victorious in this one. I know that's a bit of an obvious thing to say, but I just do think they'll be a bit too strong. The form of Salah, etc. I just think they will win. So Liverpool win for me. So Everton, the first game in charge for Sam Allardyce against Huddersfield. Fantastic win in the week for Everton. David Unsworth's last game in charge, and what a result they got. 4-0 against a very, very poor West Ham side. Hat-trick for Wayne Rooney, including that superb goal from inside his own half. The way he took it, the technique, just class. Rolled back the years, as they say. Brilliant. So yeah, 4-0. Fantastic result for them. They need to keep that going. As I say, Big Sam, he's come in to almost firefight and keep them up. They'll stay up now. I don't think they were ever really in danger of going down. I think for me, what Big Sam's got to do now, if he wants to shake off this title of, saving teams from going down, maybe what he's got to do is, so he's on an 18-month contract, steady the ship, get Everton back into that top half at least for the rest of the season. And then next season, really kick on and do what they should have done this season and try and break that top 6. That's what he's got to try and do next season. What I fear will happen is what happens a lot to Sam Allardyce is he goes to clubs, he steadies the ship, he does well, and then the fans expect more. He then leaves, the team then goes down the shitter. So, good luck to Big Sam. Great manager. He's not a dinosaur like people think he is. Sacked way too early and unfairly for me in terms of the England job. Would have loved to have seen him in charge and been given a proper run. He was never, the press never wanted him, and they got him out. Huddersfield, so battered against Arsenal. It was always going to be very difficult for them to go to the Emirates and get something there, but again, like I said, the away form of Huddersfield is a concern for them, and it's their home form that is going to keep them in the Premier League. My opinion, Everton are going to keep this run going, they're going to keep the momentum going, and they're going to beat Huddersfield in this game. So the Mighty Foxes take on Burnley at the King Power Stadium. What a result the other night against Tottenham. Not something I expected. I did predict a loss, which I don't like going against my team, but sometimes you have to be realistic. It was brilliant. First half was very reminiscent of the year that Leicester won the league. Free-flowing, 2 fantastic goals, Vardy and Mahrez. Great finishes. First half, Tottenham looked very, very ordinary. Second half, they came back into it, and I'm thankful that it took them until the 79th, 80th minute to get their goal. I think if they'd have got an early goal, you know, within the first 5-10 minutes of the second half, they probably would have gone on to win. They had chances, they missed some absolute sitters. They're still a great side. But in terms of their title race, some people say the title race is only between 2 teams anyway, but that's 3, I think maybe 4 away defeats in a row, and 4 defeats this season, which is exactly the same as they got the whole of last season. So not great, and many questioning, Pochettino, not questioning him in terms of should he be sacked and all that, but let's see what he's really got. Is he going to turn this round, and is he going to get Spurs finishing in the top 3 this season? That's about Spurs. Spurs aren't playing. I've kind of stolen my own limelight there. Burnley up to 6th. Burnley in the 6th. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But, fair play to them. Beat Bournemouth away. I didn't expect them to win away. So that's 4 wins in the last 5 now, Burnley. That's great. Absolutely fantastic. And obviously the problems of winning away last season have disappeared. They've won their last 2 away from home, so I'm hoping they don't make it 3 wins from 3 away from home. It's going to be a very difficult game. Burnley will be a very different prospect to Tottenham, and Burnley are in better form than Tottenham, so Leicester need to be very wary. But given the result the other night, I get the feeling there's a lot of confidence around Leicester at the minute, and many of the fans are looking at some of their games coming up and are kind of smelling the points, and if that makes sense, and almost thinking, in 3 games' time we could be here, we could be there. Leicester need to win this one in some way, because the gap between where Leicester are currently and 7th, 6th place is already 8 points. So they need to close that gap. And obviously the relegation zone isn't all that far away, really. So pick up points, win at home, and Leicester will be absolutely fine and hopefully pushing for, that top 8 finish, which is where I really hope they'll be. I'm going to go for a draw in this one, because I think this will actually be a little bit tougher than the Spurs game, to be honest. So I'm going to go with a draw. There's a little bit of heart overhead there, I think. Stoke Swansea, not a game that the neutral would be very buzzing about. So Stoke 3-0 last time out to Liverpool. So Mo Salah just ran the show, seemingly. Came on and scored 2, as I've already mentioned. Against Swansea, as I've already mentioned, losing last time out keeps them in the bottom 3. Then you get battered at Chelsea. I'm not sure whether they were good, whether they were bad, or Chelsea were bad. I'm not really sure. I've not really read a lot about it. I think Swansea's biggest problem is some of the players that they expected to be stars this season haven't turned up. Wilfred Bony just has not got the scoring boots that he once had at Swansea. Renato Sanchez, the former golden boy, what the hell has happened to him? I keep seeing a meme of him passing to a red advertising board, thinking it was one of the Swansea players from the Chelsea game the other night. Swansea were playing in red. That's pretty embarrassing, isn't it? So Swansea are going to be in big trouble unless these players turn up. But it won't be the players that get sacked, it'll be the manager, and that's always the way. This sounds like a very, very boring game. I'm going to go with a Stoke win just to edge it. I think a convincing Stoke win might be the end of the Swansea manager, especially with Tony Pulis waiting in the wings. Stoke win for me. Next up, Watford versus Spurs. I've already touched on Spurs and I've already spoke about them. Watford, despite being 3-0 down at half-time, they did come back to make it 3-2 against United in the week, ultimately losing 4-2. Just a couple of cracking goals there in that game. But Watford are still impressing me. I still really like the manager. I think he's brilliant. And Watford have managed to keep him, at least for now. Everton wanted him, but it looked like that, you know, obviously that didn't happen, and Big Sam is now in charge. So, you know, well done to Watford, well done to the chairman for not buckling under the pressure. So yeah, fair play to him. I do see a Spurs winning this one. I think there will be a reaction from Spurs. They've had a bit of stick in the press. Pochettino's had a bit of stick, and I think those players, they do love playing for this manager. So there will be a reaction from Spurs. And to be fair, Watford do tend to get, despite as good as they have been this season, they do tend to get walloped by the big teams at home. So I'm expecting a Spurs win in this game. West Brom versus Crystal Palace. So new managers coming in at Everton and a new man has come in at West Brom. Alan, your new stepdad Pardew, is now the man in charge at West Bromwich Albion. I'm not really sure how I would feel about this as a West Brom fan. I think having put up with Tony Pulis for a couple of seasons, I probably wouldn't mind it. 2 draws in their last 2 games, with their draw against Newcastle in the week. So Gary Megson has steadied the ship as much as he could. As I said, Crystal Palace picked up that draw in their last game against Brighton. They're still bottom of the league, and West Brom occupy the place just above the relegation zone in 17th. So this is important. You know, this is a big game down at the bottom there. West Brom can pull away a little bit. Palace, they need to really start to close that gap. They don't want to get cut adrift at the bottom of the table there. I'm going to go with a very boring draw in this one. I think it will just be a case of them testing each other out. West Brom will probably sit deep, etc. But, you know, maybe Alan Pardew over time will bring some exciting football back to the Hawthorns. But I'll go for a draw in this one. So the big one of the weekend down at the Emirates, and it's the game that is currently being simmed here on FIFA 18, is Arsenal versus Manchester United. Always a game that I enjoy watching over the years. Growing up in a house with a Manchester United fan and someone who doesn't like Arsene Wenger, not me, my mum. You know, this is a game that has always been a bit tasty, and I've always enjoyed watching it. So both teams are in pretty much identical form, really. 4 wins in their last 5, that 1 defeat on the same weekend as well. Arsenal beating Huddersfield 5-0. Mesut Ozil back in form. Can he do it against the big teams though? Can he do it against United? I've got to be honest, I've never really seen the fascination with Ozil. However, I get the feeling that one day I will just see it and I'll think, wow, actually he is class. He is as brilliant as people say he is. I was a bit like that with Michael Ballack. I never saw the fascination, and then all of a sudden I just realised, I don't know, I must have watched a game or something, I realised how fucking good he was. So maybe the same goes with Ozil. Who knows? He's still being linked with a move away. They're talking today in the press, I read it was on the back of one of the newspapers, also read online, that Barca are willing to offer Arda Turan in a swap deal for Ozil. Turan's not played a huge amount of football over the last 2-3 years, so that would be an interesting one. Good player, and I think he would suit the Premier League. Is he a good replacement for Ozil? Who knows? United, they scored 4 again in the week. I think that's the 6th time this season they've scored 4. Ashley Young chipping in with a couple of goals. He's having one hell of a season, and I'm quite glad United is still winning. They've got to keep that pressure on Man City. This is going to be a cagey sort of game. Will Mourinho part the bus? Will he take a draw? I actually think he will take a draw. I don't think Arsenal will be quite good enough going forward to break United down. So I am going to go for a draw, and I'm even going to go for a low scoring 0-0, 1-1 sort of score in this game. 2 games on Sunday, so we have another South Coast derby. So Bournemouth take on Southampton. So Bournemouth losing at home to Burnley, but Burnley are very much the informed team in the Premier League at the minute, along with the 2 Manchester clubs. And you know, they're 15th, but they're one of those, along with Everton, Newcastle, that are looking, West Brom, that are looking over their shoulder and need to start to pull away from that bottom 3. Southampton very, very, very unlucky in the week against Man City. They went there seemingly for the draw, having seen all the things in the press about what Guardiola was saying and the rant that he had, or the words that he had with Nathan Redmond. Guardiola's got to get used to that. Teams are going to come to the Etihad and do that. But I'll come on to Man City shortly. So both teams losing last time out. I don't see this being an absolute barnstorming game. I hope it is. But I don't really see it. It's on the TV, lunchtime kickoff. Who knows? We might be pleasantly surprised. I'm actually going to go with a Bournemouth win in this one. I think they're going to be up for it, and I fancy them to get the win. And finally, while I've got a couple of minutes left on this video, the final game of the weekend, Manchester City versus West Ham. So Man City, wow, 96th minute the other night against Southampton, Raheem Sterling, unbelievable goal, absolutely brilliant. And many people will say, jammy, lucky. For me, that is the sign of champions. You know, United have done it over the years. That for me is the sign of champions, and they've done it a hell of a lot this season. I'm not going to say much more about Man City. What more can be said? Same goes for Everton, really. What a terrible, terrible result in the week, and it goes from bad to worse for West Ham. So they have their next 4 games, League and Cup, reads Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. So it's not looking good for for West Ham. West Ham could find themselves very much bottom of the table come the new year, or they might spring a surprise and pick up some points. Only one result for me in this one, and I am going to go with a Man City win. That brings me to the end of my preview and prediction for game week 15. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget to like and share the video. Don't forget to subscribe to Daydreamer Gaming and hit that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our sponsors, gamerborn.co.uk and fatalgrips.com. 10% discount at the checkout if you put in the code DDreamerGaming. Have a fantastic weekend, people. Stay safe, enjoy the football, and I will see you next week for game week 16. Thank you very much.